So I'm installing this Casablanca W-32 wall switch. As you can tell, there's like different type of wires back here, different color wires, a lot of them. So we gotta figure out what is what. I have the instructions here, and this is my setup. This is how I'm gonna install it. The idea is, let me see if I can focus. The idea is that you want to take the black with white stripe and connect it to the blue. And there's another black with white stripes that is going to be connected to the fan, to the wire, the black wire that goes to the fan. So as I'm looking at this, there's two black with white stripe wires, but the instruction says that you can swap the two wires when it's necessary. It's going to be a black wire that's going to be capped, and that's this wire here already capped for us, and there's a black wire that's going to go with the black that comes from the power from the house. So that black wire looks like it's going to be the lower one. So let me see if I can focus on this. So it looks like it's going to be this one, this wire right here. So the wire itself, that black wire, has this little tag on it. Using only one wall control, so I just need one. I don't need to use the second one, the second black wire, the one with the cap on it. So when you look at my switch box, I shut down power here completely, so I tested everything. This is for separate light, so this has nothing to do with the fan. But I have here this red wire right here comes from the power. This is where all the power, all the hot wires come from the box downstairs, and they all join here and they get distributed to this switch, that switch, and that switch. So it turns out that in this case there's a red power wire that comes to the switch, and there's a black power wire that comes to the second switch. This normally is for the fan, and this normally is for the lights that control the fan. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to connect the Casablanca switch to this two specifically here. So it appears that in the Casablanca switch you don't need two wires that come with power, one for the fan, one for the light. And on this fans you just need one wire that comes from power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nut off, this wire nut off, and I'm going to remove this wire because it is not needed, and I'm going to cap off this one, which is the wire that is normally used for the lights on the fan. So I want to cap this one off, make sure that I cap it up on where the fan is too, and I'll just focus on one wire. So wire nut is off. I'm going to try to unwind this a little bit so I can remove this wire. So there you go, wire has been removed from there. All I gotta do is put the wire nut. It looks like everything is tight. Yep. So now the next thing is I'm gonna take this wire off, and I'm gonna just cap it because I'm not gonna be using that wire that goes to the fan. So this is the wire that goes to the fan. So I'm gonna try to remove it from here and cap it. So that's next. Alright, so I removed the tape, and now I gotta remove this wire. So I loosen up that bolt, remove the wire. Now I gotta cap this wire, and now this switch, as you can tell, there's a ground on it. So I'm gonna remove this ground from this wire nut over here where all the grounds are connected to. So here goes a red wire that goes to the fan. I'm gonna cap it. I cut off just a little bit of that wire there. So now I'm gonna use this wire nut, and I'm gonna try to okay, so now it's capped, doesn't come off, and can put this aside now. Now we gotta take this wire nut out. I gotta strain this up a little bit to remove the wire nut. Okay, so I managed to remove this ground wire. So this is removed, whole switch comes out. It comes out now. So now we're gonna cap this. So now the next step is we're gonna remove this wire from here, that wire from there, and this ground wire too, because we're not gonna be using that one. Alright, so I loosened up the screws on the side. I gotta remove the wire nut from here too, again, because we gotta remove this ground wire out of here. Alright, so fan wire is out. Put it aside. Power wire, oh, there you go, it's out. So I'm gonna leave it right here. And now this is the one that it's gonna be a little bit difficult, so many wires here. Oh, there we go. So now that's gone. So switch is out of the way now. So next what we want to do is we want to straighten these wires because they're curved, and it's not easy to work with something like that. And we're also going to cap them. We're going to put a wire knot on them and connect to the other wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this a little bit. I think it's too long. This length is about maybe half an inch to an inch maybe, but this is more or less, it looks like 3/4 of an inch. So that's fine for me. I'm going to grab the other wire, the one that goes to the fan. And I'm going to do the same thing. Straighten it up a little bit. And cut off the excess. Something like that is fine. That's like half an inch long right there. And now, so based on the instructions, so we're gonna connect this green wire to the ground, which goes here, and we're gonna put a wire nut on it. Now wire nut is there, the wire is secure. So next we're gonna take the black wire, the one with the little paper on it, the instructions, and take the power from the house, and we're gonna put these two wires together. Just turn them clockwise when you're putting them together, because that's the direction in which you're going to be turning your wire nut. And it helps because if you do it the other way, it might unwind it when you're putting the wire nut on it. So there you go. We turn the wire nut clockwise also. Power connected. Next, the instructions said to connect the black with the white stripe together and the blue. That's what we're going to do next. And now we're going to put a wire knot on that. And finally, we have the wire with a white stripe. And we're going to connect the wire with a white stripe to the wire that goes to the fan. And we're going to put a wire knot on that also. And now that we have all the wires connected, we're going to test if everything works before we start putting everything back in. So now that I connected everything, if you press the power and you try to control the light, you'll notice that I hit power. Now the fan is on, and if I hit the light switch, actually I'll use the fan. If I hit the fan switch, what happens is you get light. So it looks like things are in reverse order. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to turn off the power again, and I'm going to try to switch two black wires with a stripe. Switch the order around. So power is down, and I touch it here, no power. Touch it there, no power. There's no electricity flowing through here. So I'm going to remove this wire nut from here. Take this apart. And now I'm going to remove the wire nut from the other wire. Take this off. Now we're going to switch. So this wire was connected to the fan wire. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to connect this one now with the blue instead of the other one with the blue. I grabbed the other one that used to be with the blue, and I'm going to try that here with the fan. Now you put the wire nut on it. And we're going to try one more time. We're going to turn on power and then try it again. So power is on again, so we come back. I hit the power button for the fan. And now we're going to hit the light. And the light turns on. Here's the fan button. Press it, turns on. So we're done with the connection. Now all we have to do is I'm gonna turn off the light, turn off the fan. And what we gotta do now is just put all the wires back in here. Put this new switch in here. And this other switch for the other light in the room. Now we gotta put it back in there. So this is what I have so far. Notice that now I'm missing a switch in the middle. I ended up buying a few items. So this is a blank switch. I ended up getting this blank switch right here. It's basically just a plate. There's nothing on it. That's gonna go in the middle. I'm gonna change the switch that I have here. That switch. I'm gonna change it to this switch, this type of switch. So I got that switch for that, and then the cover plate. Okay, so I shut off power to all the wires that come into the switches, and you can always verify. I'm gonna be changing this one to a Decora switch, so I'm gonna remove this. And now I gotta just remove this tape that I put on there before. So I'm gonna remove these wires from here. Remove the other wire. And I gotta get the ground out of here too. There it is. Second one is out, and the ground came off. And it says over here, it says this is the top. I don't know if you can see that, but it says top here, and therefore this will be the bottom down here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it up this way. So I'm gonna go back and put the wires the way that I had them before. See if I have it on the camera now. There you go. So same thing again. I want this wire to curl around that screw clockwise. So now that it's around that screw, I'll make sure that it goes around it nice and around it, so that way it doesn't come off. Now I'm gonna tighten it. There it is. So now both wires are connected. You turn your switch around and you go up here, and same thing, curls clockwise around the screw. There it is. So now what I gotta do is I gotta tighten that screw. So you make sure that it's tight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check this by hand, make sure that everything is tight, nothing's gonna come off. And I verified that the wires were tight, make sure that, they were not gonna come off at all. And now it's time to put the screws back on for this switch. And now I'm gonna put on the first screw. top screw. Alright. It looks like the blank, if I put this screw through this hole and take this screw out of here and pass it through this hole right here, that will fit right into here perfectly. So the screws are in there, and those are the slots that are there. And now what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna try to screw them onto where they need to go. That's one. And you don't have to over tighten these two screws because this is just a plate. It's not like it's gonna be used for anything. So at first I'm gonna take a look at how it looks first once I put the cover plate on it. See, so that looks okay. See, it looks like this is further in than the others. I'm gonna see if I can put something back here behind that and behind that so it can push it out more. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to use some washers. So I'm gonna put the washer right behind the screw here. And the reason why this happens is generally because the box is too far in, so the drywall is further out. Things don't look right because of that. Screws in. This one too. Let's see. Let's take a look at the first set of spacers and see how they function now. So it looks a little bit better. It's a little bit more flush here, but this one is further in. Okay, so I ended up, I noticed that eventually the gap here, even though the gap is not perfect here, I'm going to leave it like that because then I have to basically take the switch and kind of like twist it a little bit so that this will be perfectly even, and I don't want to mess with that. It looks just fine the way it is. No one will notice anyway, so. But that's not a concern to me. I did the same thing with this blank. I put spacers behind it, and now I put the cover plate on. So all we gotta do, the last thing to do is just put the screws on the cover plate. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting them by hand, one at a time. Yeah. We got one in. Now it's nice and flush, everything is nice and tight there. So now what we gotta do is bring power back on and try this out. Roll power back on. As you can tell now, got the switch working. This is a blank. Power on the fan, turn on the light, it works just fine. So everything is back to normal. And I think it came out pretty nice, the whole setup. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you learned anything, just give us a thumbs up and take care.